do you think, I mean, what's the benefit of doing this? I'm trying to figure out how this develops, like, and why it develops, because it's one thing to just say, look, I'm submissive and you're the husband or father or whoever. Do they get anything out of it? Do they want anything out of it when they go into that mode and they talk like that?
Usually the people that I know that aren't in power are just looking for protection, right? They don't want to work outside of the home. They want to stay home with the kids. They want to live a certain life, and sounding like this and being like this, they think enables that to happen. But I mean. There's a reason you don't see women over 40, on TikTok or anywhere else trying to be trad wives. We know. I don't want anything to do with that, right? So it's been passed down to a younger generation of women who look around and say, I don't think I can do all of this. I don't think I can juggle all these balls and keep them in the air. And like, I get it, girl. I get it. It's hard. But sh- you know, forcing and that's the thing about feminism too. You want to stay home, you should stay home. You want to go to work, you should go to work. You should be able to do what you want to do, right? But they are being forced into this.
Can you explain that a little more? The women over 40 who don't talk about how they want to be trad wives. What tell us about that? What is it about younger conservative Christian women who are pressured into that lifestyle? What is it that they realize they don't like about it?
Well, they have a lot more estrogen than we have, so they react differently to what's going on in the world. But they're young. A lot of them haven't been out in the world for very long, or like me in my culture, I was married at 18 and I had a baby by 20, and that was absolutely normal by every standard when I looked around. And so they feel like this is what is meant to happen. And you can look at really, right wing culture where they feel like they're revered. They feel like, they're protected, that someone is looking out for them. And you realize when you get older that you need to do these things yourself. You can't be so dependent on somebody else. If you have kids and you need to stay home because daycare is ungodly, I get it. I totally get it. But someone saying that's where you should stay, that's where you belong, is a totally different thing. And that's where women over 40 were like, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me where I belong. And definitely don't tell me that I should have to follow this and that I should be submissive to somebody else, because I'm not submissive to a man or a woman or anybody else. You can forget about that.
Speaking of women like that, I'm wondering if you follow all the Fundie snark commentary on Reddit, because there are younger Christian women who are trying to push for exactly that lifestyle, and they do it on social media. And maybe they haven't figured it out yet. Maybe they're coming to terms with it every now and then. I'm wondering what you make of some of those people. You don't have to name names, but I'm wondering what you think about some of those Christian women who are probably in the position you were in when you were 18 or 20.
Right. Well, I just think that the world isn't. I mean, it's not black and white. There's lots of shades of gray. I've stayed home before and worked from home while I had kids. We have 5 kids together, and so there were times, like when my youngest daughter was born, that I did step away from teaching for about 12 months and did my own daycare at home because it's something that I needed to do. But this trad wife. Fundy, these circles make you feel like that's what you should do. And if you don't love your kids enough. You're choosing your career, when actually you're like, no, I can't eat in this economy if we don't have a two income, thing. My mother didn't stay at home. My grandmother worked. We're a couple generations away from women who, really stayed at home. And I think that we're seeing women say, like I said, I can't do all of this. And I think that's where we struggle with, people having babies. Who can afford it? Who can afford daycare? And so it's all of these things just colliding.
I wanted to play one more clip for you because there was one other instance of the voice we're talking about that sends the same "I'm not threatening" message. And this is from Amy Coney Barrett when she was having her judicial Supreme Court confirmation hearings. This was part of her opening statement. Let me play this clip.
As I said when I was nominated to serve as a justice, I'm used to being in a group of 9, my family. Nothing is more important to me, and I'm very proud to have them behind me. When I write an opinion resolving a case, I read every word from the perspective of the losing party. I ask myself how I would view the decision if one of my children was the party that I was ruling against.
Well, that's horrifying. She has the most power. The most power. And then that's a lie. Did you read your opinion on Roe from your daughter's perspective? That's a lie. And I can't stand that. I'm so angry about SCOTUS anyway. I'm so angry that 3 people lied and now they're on a court that decides everything to do with every part of our life that, I can't stand it. But there's a woman from Missouri. She's a senator. She's actually running for Congress. Her name is Mary Elizabeth Coleman. And I think they have 6 kids. She's a Catholic. She has 2 nannies. She talks about the fact of how women, should stay home. We should do these things. And I'm like, you are running for Congress with 2 nannies, and you have the gall to tell women of my means what we should be doing. Amy Coney Barrett has the gall to tell women of my means how we should be raising our family, when we should be having a family. By the way, you should have 9 kids just like me. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's a very privileged thing to be able to get away with saying that, you have it all, you made it work, without respecting the fact that other people in different circumstances don't want that, can't have that, whichever one you want to choose there. And I mean, what I left out of that Amy Coney Barrett clip is she spent the next several minutes going through each of those kids and telling us all about them, which, for what it's worth, is something I do not remember. As one reader here, one viewer here points out, I've never heard a man in politics talk about how many kids he has. And again, maybe there's a strategy to that. They were trying to ward off any attacks on Amy Coney Barrett. So it's like, talk about your family. That way, if they ask you questions about your religion because it's unique, or they ask you critical questions of things you've written about, you can always fall back on, but I'm a mother with 9 kids or 7 kids or what have you.
When I first started running for office, I worked, for 16 years as a teacher in a female dominated space. And so I really didn't feel the sting of sexism that much until I started running for office. And then I realized that there are a lot of folks who think that if you are a mother, that you shouldn't be doing things, you shouldn't be outside of the home. And the first time I really heard this was when I went to Jefferson City, which is our capital, and I was talking to a Republican lawmaker, and he asked if I had kids, and I said, yeah. And he said, who's going to take care of them when you're in Jefferson City? And I thought, well, my husband. Would you ask him that? Like, is that a question you ask of men? And of course it's not.
Yeah, I from what I have gathered, there are men with kids who serve in politics.
I've heard.
Yeah. There was one person who pointed out on Blue Sky. This is, I think, from Fred Clark's blog, but I have no idea what Katie Britt is saying, but I am absolutely convinced that her husband is a good man and the allegations of those assaults are untrue.
And that goes back to the thing about secrets, right? I mean, when Michelle Duggar talked like that to us, she knew that her son was molesting his sisters when she was speaking like that, when she was talking about family values and all of the things that made her better than us. Her daughters were in danger. And that's that secret part that always, every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, what is going on behind the scenes? Like, are you literally just smoking a cigarette on your back porch, or is something sinister going on in your home?